Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. In today's video we're going to look at getting started with the Hedonists of Slaanesh Sybarites in Age of Sigmar Warcry, using the Dread Pageant warband from Warhammer Underworlds as a starting point to build up a full functional 1000 point warband from. The Dread Pageant are a warband of Slaanesh Sybarites led by Vasilac the Gifted. Having first entered the Beastgrave in pursuit of visions of their missing deity Slaanesh, the Dread Pageant was soon gripped by a new obsession, the tormenting of the sentient mountain itself. Like all Slaaneshi Hedonists, the Dread Pageant are slaves to sensation. And when they first tasted the Beastgrave's anguish at being denied its usual feast of flesh, they began to goad the mountain by withholding its succor, torturing their victims to the point of death while imbibing Beastgrave's despair. In the claustrophobic depths of dire chasm, the mountain's raw emotions are at its most tangible, sending the Dread Pageant into an euphoric state. Today's video is sponsored by Gap Games, a fantastic miniature wargaming store in Queensland, Australia. They stock a wide variety of miniature wargames from all things Games Workshop to some of my personal favourites, Conquest of the Last Argument of Kings, and all things Modifius wargames as well. Use our affiliate code in the link below to help support both this fantastic store and the channel as well. And so the first fighter in our warband, our initial box set, is Vasilac the Gifted. A fairly solid fighter, 26 health, defense 5 is really nice and pretty tough for Slaaneshi mortals in all honesty. 4 attacks as well, at strength 4 with 2/5 on the damage. He does a significant amount of damage as well. And you've also got the all-important 2-inch reach, enabling you to pick when and where you're going to engage against any fighters that don't have that reach back at you. Now, for ability-wise, we've got a bunch of abilities on Vasilac the Gifted. The first of these are going to be some of the generic Slaanesh ones we've got access to, but also his own abilities. Now, we've got his unique ability, first of all, which is called Dance of the Wailing Blade. Now, this is until the end of the fighter's activation. You add 1 to the damage points allocated to enemy fighters by each hit and critical hit from this fighter, which is pretty cool. And then you've also got a double for unrivaled velocity, where you can add 3 to his move to give some extra move, and this is pretty much available to all of our Slaaneshi models. Violence and Excess is another Slaaneshi leader ability, where they can only use the ability if an enemy fighter has been taken down by their attacks, and they can make a bonus move or bonus attack from that. We then also have other abilities as well. The Quad Cavalcade of Madness, which is a special ability for the models in the Dread Pageant. This fighter makes a bonus attack action, and in addition, if either this fighter or a target of the attack has any damage points allocated, you add 1 to the attack's characteristic of that bonus attack. And if both this fighter and the target have damage points allocated to them, you add 3 to the attack's characteristic instead. So a really solid quad ability. Definitely has, to sort of be set up, and this can sort of be done with potentially using some other abilities or some ranged attacks to deal that extra damage, but it does make your opponent weary about how they're going to deal damage to your particular fighters. Next we have the Slangor in the warband of Slake-Slaash. A 1-inch range is probably his only downside, but other than that, 22 wounds, defense 4 is solid, 4 attacks at strength 4 with 3/6 on the damage as well is really nice. Now, Slake-Slaash does have a bunch of the generic sort of Slaanesh abilities he has access to, but really, Slaves to Impulse is the special ability we get with Slangor in general, and a fighter can only use this ability if there is a visible enemy fighter within 6 inch. They get to make a bonus move as long as they finish closer to that fighter. This is pretty cool because it means as long as you're only 1 move away, you are going to get double attacks into most things you fight, which is pretty good considering Slake-Slash's base sort of damage is 3, with that decent strength of 4 there as well, enabling him to really just punch out some decent damage. The first of our 2 mortals in the warband is Hadzu. Hadzu is the archer of the warband. So we've got the 3 to 15 inch range, which is pretty solid, with 1/4 on the damage, a nice damage value to have access to. 3 attacks at strength 3 as well is nice. A lot of archers generally only get those 2 attacks, and this does generally make them that little bit better than your average Blissbarb archer. You are paying slightly more points, but a Blissbarb archer on average only has 2 attacks and does 1/4 on the damage, where Hadzu obviously has that increased damage and an extra attack. You've also got the 12 wounds as well, which is more than what your average Blissbarb archer is going to have access to as well. Glisset is the other member, and this model has 4 attacks at strength 3 to 5 on the damage. 2-inch reach there as well is really nice to have access to, which is going to make the model just really useful to have in the warband, able to dictate sort of where it's fighting. And we don't really have a comparison for Glisset because they're essentially a Blissbarb Archer without the archery part. They're more a combat version of those models, which makes her a relatively cheap option compared to some of the other combat options we get with Slaanesh when we look at the Sigmar Twin Souls and the Myrmidesh Painbringers as an example of what she probably is competing against, or they are competing against in this. And so where to go next? And the first thing we're going to look at adding is a Bliss Brew Homunculus. This comes inside the Blissbarb Archer box set, but this model is actually going to bring a lot of potential to our Blissbarb Archers. Now, I didn't talk about the Blissbarb Archer ability in theirs because the Volley of Tearing Blades is an ability the Blissbarb Archers get. You add 2 to your attacks characteristic of their missile attack actions. However, if they're near a friendly model with the Priesthood mark like the Homunculus, they get +1 strength on that attack as well. So really good on a model that is already better than a regular Blissbarb Archer. A Homunculus just supporting your Hadzu fighter will already boost what is an improved Blissbarb Archer to even greater heights. I'm going to look at the Lord of Hubris. I really dig this model. I think it is such a Slaaneshi sort of theme and idea on how it works within the warband, but I do think when we look at the other model we're going to talk about just after the Lord of Hubris, we have a cool little idea for a combo. The Lord of Hubris is a decent enough fighter with 20 health, defense 4, 4 attacks at strength 4, and 2-3 on the damage. What's cool though is this model has its own unique ability called You First, I Insist. This essentially allows it to pick an enemy fighter to attack them. That fighter gets to make a bonus attack action, and then until the end of your activation, you get to add 2 to the attacks characteristic of your model and your strength, or you can add 3 to each hit, critical hit to the model as well. So you're able to sort of dictate how you want to add things to the model, which is really nice. You do have to obviously take that attack from an enemy model, but it is only 1 attack, so you can sort of guarantee that your model here is not going to die by sort of knowing, okay, it's going to go into this enemy fighter, they can only deal 10 damage at maximum, I've got 20 health, I'm not going to die, I can give them a free attack, and then potentially and hopefully wipe them out off the table. And so the model we're talking about that I think makes a nice combo is another hero in the warband, and this is the Shard Speaker of Slaanesh. The Shard Speaker of Slaanesh has that sort of wizard profile that we expect on ranged attacks. It's got a couple of attacks in melee, but actually not too shabby. Like normally wizard attacks don't really do much, but the Shard Speaker of Slaanesh has 1/4 on its damage, 3 attacks, and a 2-inch reach. So it can be a model that can definitely be used to get a little bit of extra damage in our fights. What's really important though is the ability this is going to bring, and this is where I think it's going to work nicely with the Lord of Hubris. Their ability, Tendrils of Unnatural Smoke, reduces all enemy attacks within 6 inches of them by 1. So this will matter for that bonus attack action. They're going to lose an attack, potentially not dealing as much damage to our Lord of Hubris and allowing the Lord of Hubris to hit them back. And so our warband today, we're going to have our heroes in the warband be Vasilac the Gifted. We've also gone for the Lord of Hubris, and we're giving him the Divine Blessing of Fortitude, giving them some extra wounds, just enabling them to do their You First, I Insist ability more reliably. Then we've got the Shard Speaker of Slaanesh as well. For fighters, we have Slake-Slaash, who've gone and given the Divine Blessing of Ferocity a bonus attack. And then we've got Hadzu, Glitter, and our Bliss Brew Homunculus. We hope that this video was helpful in getting you started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, and that it was able to give you some ideas and inspiration to start your own force in the game. If you have any other questions at all, please comment them down below and we'll endeavour to get back to you. And while you're there, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe and join our Discord server as well, linked in the video's description, for all our future Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry content.